WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from the Maltman, Blended Malt Scotch whiskey, very important, not single malt, blended malt, a mixing of different single malts together, no grain, it's not a blended Scotch, it's a blended malt. So this is non-chilled filtered, natural color, and natural strength. It's a 1997 vintage. That means all the whiskey in here was distilled in the year 1997. Whew, long time ago, 23 years in fact. And this is a blend of the finest malts from Macallan, Deanston, and Tobermory. Very, very good. And we have the signature here of Donald Hart on here. Now, I just realized something which I should have realized about 3 years ago. I know Donald Hart, not personally, but I know the Hart brothers, and I've been, for the last 2 years, complaining about the decreasing quality of the Hart brother bottlings. But I've also been praising the increasing quality of the Maltman bottlings. Same company. I don't know. All right, so according to my Malt Whiskey Yearbook 2022, we have something here. The Maltman is not a company itself, but rather it belongs to the Meadowside Blending, MBI. And it says here in my nice little book, the company may be a newcomer to the family of independent bottlers, but the founder certainly isn't. Daniel Hart, a keeper of the Quaish, and co-founder of the well-known bottler Hart Brothers, runs the Glasgow company together with his son Andrew. So Andrew might be the guy I need to talk to. There are 6 sides to the business. I did not know that. So the first one are blends sold under the name the Royal Thistle. Okay. Then we have single malts as well as blended malts labeled the Maltman. Then we have single cask, single grain under the label the Grainman. I've had a few of those. Then we have the Vintage Cask Reserve featuring ultra rare bottlings. Never have I seen any of those. And just recently they added the Vital Spark, focusing on single malts with a maritime twist. And introduced in 2020, we now have the Granary, which is a blended grain whiskeys. Ooh. So we have the Grain Man, we have the Maltman, we have the Vital Spark, and we have the Granary, and we have the blends with the cask, vintage cask reserves. All right, very, very good. So what should a 23-year-old natural color, non-chilled filtered, natural cask strength whiskey cost from the distilleries Macallan cost more, Deanston and Tobermory actually cost. So Whiskybase, as I said, 192711. This bottle costs about 135 euros. Now I have the rule of thumb 10 euros per year. So if it's a 23-year-old whiskey, anything over 230 euros is just too much. This is 100 euros less. And it's Macallan. What's going on? Because the bottles are still there. Now, I must admit also that 1,086 of these bottles, that's a lot. All right, that's what you can do with a blended malt. It's basically a small batch, but just not from one distillery, rather from 3. And so I paid 138, it's now 134. Many, many shops in Germany still have some of these bottles here, a total of 15, a lot in the Netherlands, a little bit in the Switzerland and so on. And this was actually imported here for by Alba Import from Germany. So very, very good job there. Didi, I'm going to have on my show one day, my little live stream every Sunday evening in German, so sorry. And I have a lot of people from the German whiskey scene. So what am I going to compare this to? I have decided to go ding, ding, ding. I have not done an official review about this because I did not have the bottle, but I actually had the owner of the brand and with his partner together, Spheric Spirits, and he gave me this nice little sample of the 1988 blended malt. This is a 31-year-old first fill bourbon barrel, teaspoon kleinlich is what many people say. 655 bottles, and we're now at 43.1%. So 20, 30 years in the cask normally means that we're going to have fairly low ABVs. And that's one of the problems many of the independent bottlers sometimes have to deal with, is they might actually have barrels below the 40%. And so how do we do? What do we do? We take something with 50% and we mix it together, we blend it, and ta-da, we have something that's above 40 again. It's therefore whiskey. Under 40 is not whiskey. That's the bare legal minimum, also in Europe and most of the world, except for Australia. Why? I don't know. All right, sorry, I had to say that. All right, so what we have here are two factors that are very, very important. The first factor is the casks. First fill bourbon. I have no idea, but it looks like sherry. So I smell it. It smells like sherry. I taste it. It tastes like sherry. So we had a lot of sherry influence here. That's all the information I have here. I don't have any other information that I read to you. Vintage 1997, bottled 2021, 23 years old. So it didn't make that. I don't even know the months. 45.8%, 1,086 bottles. Macallan, Tobermory, and Deanston. That's it. There's no other information on the label at all. That's all we have here. Bottled, blended, distilled, blended, and bottled in Scotland. Bam. All right. I guess I have to go on the merits of the nose and the palate. Now, the nose is very good. That's an old school sherry. I like this nose. This nose is a solid B for me. We got some depth, we have some complexity, we have some age here. We have some tobacco, we have some orange peel, we have some furniture polish. We have some red berries. We have some nice oak spice. Very, very good. This, on the other hand, are 1988, 1997, 1988. Oh, okay. This is also on the nose. Very, very, very nice. Waxy. I don't know if I can smell waxy or not, but I'm getting a waxiness, like a candle wax, like a beeswax. I have the vanilla. I have much brighter, lighter fruits. I have a yellow plum. Here I have dark fruits. Here I have light fruits. That cask, that 30 years of the time in the cask is very, very different. Tropical, overripe fruits. Like a tropical scented candle. A little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of vanilla pudding, a little bit of vanilla pudding, a little bit of vanilla pudding, some lime, a little bit of mint even in here. Very, very nicely done. Wow, I fogged up the glass. Totally different. That sherry really comes through. That old school sherry. They actually had some nice wax on here, some copper wax, had a nice little strip, pulled it off and used it very, very nicely. It's a good bottle. I think even the price for 138 is not bad for this. If you're in that price league and you're looking for some older stuff. Now, if I had 150 euros burning a hole in my pocket and had someone would come to me and say, "Hey, Jason, I need an old whiskey for a friend," I would say Glenfarclas 25 still. 148 euros at the moment over here, 25-year-old Glenfarclas. This is 38 euros, so 10 euros less, so it's only 23. It's an independent bottling, but hey, some people have their problems with blended malt Scotch whiskies, others don't. And so these would be my alternatives here. First question of the day. What have you had from the Maltman? What have you had from Meadowside Blending? The Granary, the Grain Man, the Maltman, and so on that you've had and liked. What bottlings can you recommend? And then if you had 150 euros, 150 pounds, $200 burning a hole in your pocket and you wanted something old, what would you go for? It's a present for your boss, for your father-in-law, for whoever. $200 is your limit. 150 pounds, 150 euros. They're almost the same at the moment, but the dollar's strong and the euro's weak. Oh no, that's really killing us at the moment. All right, so what would you recommend there? Cheers. Mm-hmm. This has a lot of that old school moment. I was hoping for a little bit more of a wow moment. This is good. This is a B minus good. But it's not wow. It's a little bit of flavor towards the end. It opens up. There's a lot more sweetness than I expected in this whiskey. But it's got that wonderful, wonderful moment here. And it's got that old school sherry beauty, beauty, beautifulness is what I wanted to say. The beauty of the old school sherry. Very, very nice. Now, other people might actually complain about it because it's a little bit too smooth, a little bit too rounded. There's no edges, there's no elbows, there's nothing about this whiskey that makes it special. This is something you could interchange with many other whiskeys I've had at that price point. Do I have them anymore? No. I used to have some blended scotch, not blended malt scotch, just blended scotch that were 25, 30, and 35 years old. They tasted somewhat similar. That was from Berry Brothers and Rudd. That's that flavor profile from back then, the good old days. The old days. I don't know if the good old days, but the old days. This is very nice. A B minus. Value for money, that's where I was with the C. It's a C minus. I would not buy another bottle. All right, so that's one of my criteria to go above C. Would I buy another bottle? Is it a value for money? 138 euros for a bottle of whiskey is a lot of money. Other people are going to go, Jason, this is absolutely the deal of the year. Go buy 2 more bottles. You'll never, ever see 23-year-old whiskey at that price again. And they might be right. But the question is, do I need 23-year-old whiskey? And many of you are out there going, yes, you do. Yes, I do. Yes, I want it. I want it. I want it. So here we have a 31-year-old whiskey from 88. And this was priced at 170 euros back then. Mm-hmm. Mm. It is waxy. There is a lot of fruit, tropical moment, but it's missing a little bit of the wow moment as well. I recently had the Deanston Decades here, and I had that moment again of wow. It just blew me out of the water. It was fantastic. The aftertaste was just this explosion of flavor. I don't get that here. It's a little soft and watery as well. The 43.1%. Okay, but here at least I have 45.8%, and it has a little bit more of a depth in there, a little bit more of a mouth flavoring experience. If I were to choose between the two of these, the Maltman would win. Sorry. Very good whiskey, but this is actually a little bit better. But, last but I hope, am I really ready to pay these prices for these types of whiskeys? Probably not. Just not my wheelhouse, just not my cup of tea, not just my laser focus at the moment. So, what have you had from Maltman that you like? And what blended malt Scotch whiskey do you really enjoy? Now, I have tried, and I've done a video, at least in German, of the Johnny Walker 15-year-old green label. Excellent stuff. Value for money, fantastic. What other blended malt Scotch whiskeys can you recommend for me? It can be either from an independent bottler or then from a original bottler. Something that you can say, hey, Jason, try to find that. Try to get your hands on that. That might be also an interesting thing. For many, many, many people at the moment, blended malt Scotch whiskey is more of a stay away from me type of moment. But I think it's almost a tiny little bit like our seasonings in the kitchen. You have different types of wood, yes. You have different ages, yes. But you also have different distilleries with different flavor profiles. And you can actually mix and match. And you can make a nice spice, a nice curry is very, very, very many different types of whiskey, of spices. And I think also blended malt can be also a great combination of those. And I do like the vintage thing here, 1997. Thank you. So if anyone's looking for a birthday whiskey, that would also be a good bottle to buy. And it's tasty. So, B minus for taste, C minus for value for money. In my personal opinion, hey, could be actually a C, but that's something else. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, share, tell others, or comment down below. See you soon, Whiskey Jason. Bye-bye.